Welcome to From the Honeycomb podcast. I am your host, Katerina Borenova. Join me as we explore stories of fearless female entrepreneurs and inspiring women in architecture, construction, engineering, and beyond. Each episode is a captivating blend of topics that resonate with the soul. Whether you're here to learn more about entrepreneurship, architecture, holistic living, or just need a little extra inspiration, you've come to the right place. So sit back, relax, and let the buzz of positive energy spark your curiosity. Sure, we look good.
Yeah.
Today, I'm excited to welcome Diane Gatza, founder and CEO of California Maternity Leave Consulting. Diane is a licensed professional engineer, a mom of two, and a Hodgkin's lymphoma cancer survivor. After navigating her own 2 maternity leaves and experiencing firsthand how difficult it was to find clear, accessible information, she was inspired to create California Maternity Leave Consulting, a trusted resource for women in California looking to better understand their maternity leave benefits. Through her online program, Diane has now helped over 500 women feel more informed and empowered during such an important time in their lives. Diane, welcome to From the Honeycomb.
Thank you for having me. And gosh, I should update that. It's over 3,000 now. So I need to update. I clearly need to update my details here, but yeah.
Yeah, that's amazing. Yeah, because I definitely pulled this from your website. So wow, 3,000. That's amazing.
Yeah.
Incredible. You're doing incredible work, which I can't wait to dive into.
Thank you. It is. It's really rewarding work. And, I just think after I became a mom, I thought about what am I doing here in this world? How am I giving back? How am I serving? And yeah, being an engineer just wasn't the jam anymore for me. So as many women, after we have babies, I just think we kind of undergo a transition. At least I did. And it was all right, what do we want to do here?
No, I love it. I love it.
Yeah.
Well, Diane, as you know, we begin every episode by sharing something that we are grateful for in the present moment. So what are you grateful for?
I love that. I love a gratitude practice. I have to say, honestly, today I feel really grateful for my health because this whole past winter, having 2 little ones, an almost 6-year-old and a 3.5-year-old, they bring home all kinds of crazy germs from school. And I was sick for months and months. And now I'm up on, the normal train again. And I'm just enjoying getting out and going for walks every day and being able to have my normal routine and everything. So I just feel very blessed and grateful to have my health today and be able to get out of bed and do a lot of things I know a lot of people aren't able to do every day. And every time I get sick, I get so reminded, gosh, it's such a blessing to be able to do some small things,
No, absolutely. It really is. It does kind of recenter you. And you're just when you're healthy, you're just oh, this is what it feels like to be healthy again. And it's those little things that we kind of take for granted every day until we can't do certain things because we're not feeling well or, so that's really, really important to be grateful for that.
I also want to share one other thing randomly that I'm grateful for. It just popped into my awareness is that I just had my in-laws visit for a month and they stayed with us and they're both disabled partially. And so we have a handicap sticker to kind of get around. I have to say, I was so grateful to be experiencing what it is like to be somebody with disabilities and to be somebody who needs wheelchair access and ramp access and accessibility and help at the supermarket and getting on a bus and doing different things. And just seeing we have something called the ADA, the Americans with Disabilities Act, and being fully able here, sitting here today, I didn't see the blessings that come with that in action. And I think really getting to witness that with my in-laws just for the past month and just seeing wow, they can get around everywhere. They can do everything. They get to the airport. There's somebody there with a wheelchair. They can get all the way to the gate. They can get on the plane first. There's so many things. Gosh, I was just so grateful to be witnessing. And they were able to go everywhere with us, with our kids, and that was a real blessing.
It's amazing the foundation that the ADA has provided now. That was 1990. Now, 35 years later, right? 35. Yeah. Okay, good.
Yeah.
I was oh my gosh, it's 25 years ago now. 35. It's amazing the groundwork that they laid for people with disabilities. And, I have a lot of my listeners are architects and engineers and contractors. So we are in the ADA world. We understand it. But then when you get to see all of the work, the design, the engineering that goes into it, and then people using that, the infrastructure of it, that's incredible to see that it works and it helps people be able to spend time with their families. So I think that's such a beautiful thing that was created.
Yeah. It was just so magical to see, you go to restaurants and I've never parked in a handicapped spot before. I never needed to.
Okay.
And so being able to be like, oh, wow, you see now why when they design parking lots for different occupancies, right, they have a certain number of handicap spots that you're required to have depending on how the building is being used, right, in codes and such. And being able to witness, oh, well, this restaurant's busy, but they still had a spot open. It was like, wow, because they definitely wouldn't have been able to walk like all the way across the, the parking lot and all that kind of stuff. So yes.
Little things, and it's little things you don't think about. So I think it's really great that we're discussing it too.
Yeah, absolutely.
Hi, it's me, Katerina. Before we jump into today's episode, I want to share with you something that can change the trajectory of your life. If you are ready to start your own architecture firm but are feeling overwhelmed by where to begin, I understand, because I felt the same way when I first embarked on my entrepreneurial journey. This is why I have created the ebook, The Mindful Blueprint for Launching Your Architecture Firm. This comprehensive workbook contains everything I wish I had known before starting my own firm. From building a solid business plan to creating your brand, the Mindful Blueprint for Launching Your Architecture Firm offers a step-by-step guide tailored to your timeline, whether you're launching your firm today, next month, or in a few years. Dive into essential topics like financial planning, organization strategies, and how to secure your first client, all in one convenient resource. That's right, you don't have to spend hours researching. I have done that for you so you can focus on building your business. And that's not all. With your purchase, you'll also receive an exclusive meditation for business owners, mindfulness tips, a crystal guide for support, and gratitude exercises to help you stay focused and positive throughout your journey. Turn your dream of having your own firm into a reality with the Mindful Blueprint for Launching Your Architecture Firm. Click on the link in the show notes to get your copy today. Now, let's dive into the episode. So, Diane, you have a background in engineering. You're now a mom of two. Can you share with us what led you to starting your own consulting firm? I know I briefly touched about it in the intro, but what was that journey like for you?
Wow. It was a rocky journey, to be honest. I went to school for engineering. I'm a civil engineer and worked in engineering for 11 years. And I loved it when I was working. It was great. I had my two kids. But even prior to that, I remember this was back in 2013. This was like way before I had kids. My son was born in 2019. Way before I had kids, a coworker of mine went out on maternity leave. And I remember everybody saying, like, where we worked at had the Cadillac of benefits. Or, I guess that's a term that seems a little outdated now. Do people still buy Cadillacs? I don't know. But anyways, like, it's just, everyone said this is like the greatest benefits. And I remember asking her, I was like, how much maternity leave are you getting? This is great. And she was like, nothing. I'm like, nothing? This is outrageous. And just being somebody who is a lover of information, I love data. And as an engineer, I joke that we go to school to solve problems. They teach us how to become problem solvers. That is it. So like the problems I solve day to day are just different now than the ones I was solving prior. But I looked through like all of our benefit documents, all of our insurance paperwork. And I remember telling her, like, look at this. Like, did they tell you about this? You could have gotten this pay. And she's like, no, they didn't. We went to HR together and asked about it. And the HR is like, sorry, you just never asked for it. That was the answer. Like, you should have looked, you should have been involved. And just watching this woman who was saying like, I returned too early and she was crying. I mean, it was really like, it was jarring for me. Then I'm like, why aren't we paying into this state program? And why aren't we doing this? And why aren't we doing that? And at that time, like I said, I wasn't pregnant, wasn't even planning to have kids at that time. And I just led the charge to implement a maternity leave policy and to start having them pay into the state program because they didn't at the time. So now I still get calls. I still have some friends that still work there. I still get calls from friends like, hey, can you help this person? She works here now. And HR still can't explain these benefits that you got for us. Like, can you show them how it works? And that was just way before I was even pregnant. So I feel like I was called to this through some kind of divine path. I do believe in that. I mean, it's just so strange that I would have that experience as an engineer and then just move on with the rest of my career, like as if nothing happened. And then I had my kids. And that's when I was like, oh, I know how this stuff works. And I remember going in with HR and I just negotiated my first leave and then my second leave. And then at the end of that leave, I actually was served a paper at my home, a FedEx. At the end, it was like 7 months into my 10-month maternity leave. And my employer was demanding I return back to work in a week, which means I would have had to find childcare, try to do all this, or they were going to let me go. They were threatening. I mean, who sends a FedEx to somebody's home? It was alarming. It was frightening. And I'm like, what is going on? I have all this documented in writing that they say I can be out. And they just decide to change their minds, which is illegal. I mean, you can't do that. But employers will. And they will push employees. And they tried to push me to see what I would do. They wanted me back. And that was that. I ended up just leaving and sought legal counsel, of course, after that point, and realized what they do and that employer did was illegal. And there are other employers doing this like everywhere. And I'm just like, this doesn't feel right to me that women maybe that are less of an advocate than I am, because I'm like somebody I'm like the Aaron Brockovich of benefits. Okay. I will go out there and I will be collecting the water samples in the ditches, like at nighttime. You know what I mean? Like I will do that. And I just think that there's a lot of women that are scared, especially if, English second language, if you don't understand legal jargon, all of these things together, it's confusing and it's scary and it's intimidating to kind of go up against an employer. So after that, I just started doing workshops in person in Redondo Beach, where I'm from. And I was going, like, leading them at these yoga studios, and I was just printing out papers at FedEx Kinko's and sharing this information. And then mom groups were reaching out and, hey, can you come talk to the Fit for Moms and the Walking Mom group and the Mommy and Me groups and the Prepared Pregnancy groups and then the hypnobirthing classes and things like that. And it started growing. And then I brought it online because I'm like, we can help more women. It's everyone here in California because the legislation is the same up and down the state. And so we've kind of just grown from that. And, we have a team of 7 and we have, an online course that women who want to kind of like DIY with my assistants and live office hours and things like that can take, or we can do one-on-one consulting that we offer for employees and business owners, S Corp business owners here in the state. So it's been an evolution. And now we've been in business now for a little over 3 years. So wow. It just feels magical, honestly.
That's incredible. It's incredible because that whole part of work is always so jarring, like the HR aspect. How do you deal with stuff? How do you deal with benefits? And I think, like, yes, you can go on the internet, but there's like, where do you even begin? And I know the way I found you was through Instagram. Somehow my algorithm was finding you. I've been looking at entrepreneurship stuff. I'm like, what is this? I'm like, who is this? And I'm like, oh my gosh, like every answer I would ever need there with you. You're kind of like a one-stop shop. And I also love that you have the engineering background since I have the architecture background. So I was like, oh my gosh, like, yeah, I was like, this is so interesting. I was like, I have to have Diane on because I know, like, with my podcast, I'm really gearing towards entrepreneurship, but then also it's so geared for women. And I think there is so much information out there and it's like, where do you even begin? And, even from your experience, even your HR didn't know, what the process was. And California, I love California, but it is a challenging state when it comes to paperwork and especially when you have your own business. So I have an S Corp. And so there's just so much. So that's incredible. I love that you offer the one-on-one consulting. And I love that you also offer kind of DIY. There's so many different options and you went through it.
Yeah. What's interesting too? I think there's so much information out there. Like it's almost information overload, right? Like we can go on Google. We could like learn how to like rewire our home on YouTube, right? You want to learn how to do anything, go on YouTube. But like, do we know if it's done right? Do we know if this is the right approach for us? Like who's looking at my house to see if this is the real wiring that I need? I mean, just in that example, right? Of like figuring out how to do something. We can do anything ourselves. And so what we wanted to create and what I set out to create was just like a one-stop shop and like where you get somebody that's looking out for you and your baby. Like I'm not looking out for your employer or the state of California or these insurance companies that are out there trying to like deny women benefits. I'm not looking out for any of them. I think for moms and babies, this is like one of the most pivotal times in our life, and being able to advocate effectively against, the state, our care provider, our employer. If you think about it, the way I look at it is there's a lot of these power dynamics we're in, especially as women too, right? So we go to our doctor and our doctor tells us, right? Like we go, I'm sick or I have this, our doctor tells us what to do. But like here, we need to be an active participant in our care with maternity leave and with our disabilities and with what's going on. And a lot of us as women, I know myself, I didn't have anybody showing me how to do that when I was young. And I've had to learn that, especially being a woman in engineering, sitting at tables with a bunch of dudes all day. You have to learn how to advocate for yourself to be heard, right? So showing women that power dynamic. And then with the state, you can't get a hold of anybody. They don't share any information. The customer service is lacking. You can't even get on their 1-800 number line. It's kind of crazy. And then the other power dynamic for the women who work at employers, it's like their legal requirement under the legislation in California is they have to supply you the information. That is it. The responsibility and the liability switches at that point. They have done their requirement. Now it is on us to be like, okay, well, let me take all this paperwork that they just gave me and figure out how it applies. to me, And so what we are, trying to do is make sure women have the information to know, like, this is what is important in your documents. This is how it applies to you. This is how you should apply it. And here's like, world is your oyster. Choose what's best. There's no one size fits all maternity leave. And I don't even think we've had 2 clients that have done the exact same thing. And so we always say, if you're just copying your girlfriend at work or your cousin or your sister or your whoever, happy hour friends, you may be shortchanging yourself because every woman has a different maternity leave and different goals and a different family planning.
That's so interesting. And I want to come back to the point where you mentioned, which is so true of, especially the fields we're in is so heavily male dominated that sometimes, like the past place I used to work, I brought it up very early on. I was like, what's the maternity leave policy? It was before I was even thinking about, starting family. I was, single. I was like, and they're like, well, we've never had anybody pregnant because we've only had men. We've had maybe a receptionist or 2 or office manager, and that's it. And they're like, so we don't really have anything in place. And I was like, okay, well, when that time comes, like, what am I going to do? So, now thankfully I work for myself. And that was one of the reasons why I wanted to work for myself was for the flexibility of the future of when having a family too. So that's a whole nother thing. But I think there is just, and you brought up so many great points about, talking to the state, there's so much different information. And then there's the public and the private. And it's like, where do you even begin?
Yeah. And it's overwhelming. And I was talking to a client recently and she's like, I just feel like the system is broken. And I told her, I was like, it's not. I don't believe it's broken. I believe it is operating exactly as it was designed to prevent people from having access to their benefits, the information. It doesn't function well because there are easy things to do to make these programs operate better. Or like legislation could get changed that provides more ways for women to learn about their benefits. It doesn't require us to rely on our employer who, if we're being honest, they're not incentivized for women to be out for longer, right? So why would we trust this person who wants us to come back as soon as possible to show us how to be out and get as much money as possible to be at home with our babies? So when you start seeing and unraveling the layers, you start realizing, at least as I have, this is all set up this way. And again, being like sort of that Erin Brockovich vibe for myself, I'm like, no, something needs to change. Like we have to find a way to help more women and make it easy to understand and apply.
Absolutely. And I think when you see, the birth rates dropping, and I think that is a big conversation. And then also, I know at the beginning of the call, before we jumped on, we were talking about, I'm from the Czech Republic. So a lot of my family, when I told them about maternity leave in the US, they're just like mind blown. I'm like, well, I think depending where you work, like if you have a C-section or natural birth, it's like a couple weeks and that's about it. And they're just like jaws dropped to the floor. They're like, we get months, years. It depends on their situation as well, but and which country they live in too. But it's just like, it's crazy that here in the US, we are considered first world and like such a great country. But then when you look at some of the systems we have in place that are so backward, and like you said, yes, they are designed how they were meant to, they're designed and they're working as they were to be so difficult. It's such a shame because you see other countries around the world who are just prospering with the supporting women, supporting families. You've got maternity leave, you've got paternity leave. You've got grandparent leave. I read some country, I think it might be Sweden, that like now the grandparents get like leave if they have a grandchild. It's just mind blowing that we aren't there. We are so, so far behind here.
Yeah, we are. And I've even had clients go and deliver babies out of the country for benefits. So like, we'll file them here in California. And I've had clients I had a client go to Poland because they're a Polish citizen. And so they would get paid leave out over there. I've had a client go down to Costa Rica to deliver her baby with a midwife to be close to family. And we still file for California benefits. So like, yeah, you just start seeing, the interplay between what we offer here and then what other countries are offering. And the good news is, at least in California, I can't speak for other states, and there are more states that are developing paid leave programs, which I think is great. But California, you get paid for up to a year if you know, like how to get the full year and like what you need to do and how does it get set up. And, and some women like, do you want to stay at your job? Do you not? Like, there's a lot of questions. And I think some of it also comes down to like soul searching a little bit about like, what is it that I want for my maternity leave? Because sometimes we'll work with clients and they're just like, tell me what to do. And I'm like, no, I will not tell you what to do. I will show you your options and I will tell you sort of the pros and cons of kind of going down these different paths, but you choose what you want. And I think, I don't know, it's just also a part of awakening up to our own power and our own autonomy and our own sovereignty of just being our own decision maker and deciding what's best for us. But here, at least in California, a year. You can get paid for a year, if you're out with a baby. And we have lots of clients that have been out for a year. Some only 7 months, and then some choose less. And some do say, like, I want to go back. And we support that too, because everybody gets to choose what they want. And that's the beauty of it, right? Somebody wants to go back after 3 months, and somebody's like, no, I want the year. Yeah. Right. So we kind of help everybody based on what their goals are for their maternity leave.
That's amazing. I had no idea you could get a year. That's like blowing my mind. That seems like so long for like, especially in the US, because you always hear it's like, oh, I don't know, 6 weeks, 8 weeks, maybe. So a year is incredible. So can you talk through with us kind of like an onboarding process of if someone is interested in working with you, kind of what are some of the first steps they can take with you? And when should they actually, let me back up. When should they contact you? Like,
best question. Yes. Yeah. Okay. So I always say before everybody gets pregnant, especially if you're a business owner. Okay. So first, let me say this about business owners here in California. If you're an S Corp, you're going to get paid maternity leave. I don't care if you pay yourself like $700 a month, like you're going to get a paid maternity leave, right? So, and some of it is tied to your pay, right? But we do all the strategy for all of our clients. But the big thing is being able to know like, hey, I'm planning to have a child. Because so much of maternity leave benefits, you're locked in once you're pregnant, right? A lot of insurance policies are written around like pregnancy being a pre-existing condition. If you're pregnant when you already have these policies, or how the state calculates their benefits and some of these different things. So I always tell everybody pre-pregnancy is the most ideal. And I get a lot of type A planner moms, like, especially moms that might be going through IVF or doing family planning that are like, okay, I'm already consciously thinking about all the costs I'm spending on these different things. And like, now I want to be able to like get time off with this baby. I worked so hard and long and spent so much money to, get to where I'm at. Now I want to try to, be out for as long as possible. So I always say prior to getting pregnant is the best time. But of course, like first trimester is probably like the best because that's when we can make second most level of changes if needed. But we do get women all the time that reach out like 36 weeks that are like, hey, can you help? And so we help them as well. I even get clients that reach out after they have their baby. We get a small subset, it's very small, of women are like, yeah, I'm going to go try to figure it out myself. And I get that, right? I think we're all smart women. We can all figure it out. It's just like, is this in my zone of genius? Do I want to go spend the hours to figure it out and then like not do something wrong that's irreversible? So we get a small subset of clients that are like, oh, I tried to do it myself. Then I filed for this and then I got denied. Then I got this paperwork. And then if you're an S Corp, you get employer paperwork. You're an employer also. So then you get a whole other set of forms and people are like, how do I fill all this out? I mean, and so we obviously help with all of those things, but we get a small subset of clients on the back end there to kind of clean things up. To your second question about like, what does onboarding look like? For business owners specifically, we always want to make sure everybody is an S Corp. So like, if you're not an S Corp, if you're just 1099, if you're a sole proprietor, if you're working under the table for cash, like that's a no. Like we can't help you, right? So you need to be an S Corp, paying yourself some kind of payroll. And then what we do is we bring you on, we have a big kickoff call. It's 1 hour and we spend that whole time diving into everything about you. We have a private Google Drive. You upload all your pay stubs. We look at everything you've got. We kind of just dive in and then we just go through A to Z, how maternity works, how much time you're going to get, how much pay you're going to get. We're going to do the calculation. We're going to put everything together so you have a plan at the end of the 1 hour. And I always tell everybody, like, invite your spouse, invite your partner if you have one to the call. And like, we talk about their leave too, because a lot of times partners get leave and some of our clients have no idea that their partner is going to get leave.
Really? So, can your part? So there's paternity leave in California?
Absolutely. Yeah.
Oh my gosh, what a progressive state we are.
Right? I know. I hear a lot of things about California all the time, like the taxes and the this and that. I'm like, and this is so great, right? Yeah. It's kind of clunky and hard to get the benefits. I like to call the state of California, it's like the DMV of maternity benefits, like where we have to go file from and it's like super clunky. You can't get a hold of anybody. It's pretty subpar, but if you know how to, get in and get everything going, you get the money and you get paid out. And like, that's what we're all here for. So, but yeah, partners get leave too. I mean, we help women who use surrogates. We help women who are surrogates themselves. We help, oh my goodness, same sex couples also make sure both partners get some kind of leave. another small and heartbreaking subset of clients we get are women who have late term loss at like 30 plus weeks, sometimes at 36 weeks or later, right? So they will deliver a baby. That baby either does not survive quite long or, is not surviving when the baby is born. And then we help them get leave. And then we help their partner still get leave, And so there's all these ways to kind of make things work. And that's what we specialize in, really like the strategy, kind of on that end. But it really is like our service with business owners is all inclusive. So many calls, many emails. We help you file the paperwork. We are there until you get your last payment. If that's a year from the state, then we're there. You get some kind of funky forms, whatever. You just send us a picture. We'll help you fill them out. So that's a little bit about kind of how we get started and the process there.
You covered so many different scenarios. And I think that's what people also don't realize in the grand scheme of like maternity leave is there's maternity leave, but then there's different cases. And especially now with the modern technology, we have IVF, you can do surrogacy. I'm sure adoption is there's so many ways of becoming a parent. And even with same-sex couples. And it's just like, and again, California is so challenging, but it has this opportunity, it sounds like, for really any kind of family planning, it seems, which is so incredible to hear. And I know, I don't want to get political or anything, but I know politics it's something you can't avoid right now. And it's a dumpster fire on the East Coast right now. We'll just say that.
To say the least.
So there is always this reassurance I have, like, yes, like you said, the taxes are high, everything, but California does have this foundation of protection. If once you figure it out, once once you hire Diane and you get her going, there are ways to help you and to benefit you. And I think that's so reassuring, especially in these times where it's scary. It's scary. We don't know what's happening with the economy. We don't know what's going on. And, maybe you're a mom listening and you're like, or a future mom, and you're like, I don't know how I'm going to be able to go through with this or do this. And so I think it's really reassuring to hear. And like, I'm so grateful somehow I found you on Instagram because I've never come across anything of it. And I've been looking for like entrepreneurship help stuff. And it's just been so incredible. And I think because you can tell you're passionate about it because you experienced it yourself. I think that just is so beautiful.
Thank you. And, I was just telling my husband the other day, and I was just telling somebody who was, a handyman that was working in our house. I'm like, I am just so passionate about this. Like, I don't think I could not do it. And, we all have our zone of genius or flow state, whatever everybody wants to call it. Right. And like I mentioned, going to engineering school, like, oh yeah, I just learned how to solve problems. Like I solve maternity leave problems now. I solve like math problems for maternity leave. I solve like logistical problems over here in the maternity leave arena. And I remember too, like starting this business, I worked, like I said, I was a licensed civil engineer here in California, but I used to work in politics, which is very strange. Okay. For an engineer. Yeah. Okay. So I worked in water politics here in California and, on sustainable water projects, groundwater remediation, ocean desalination, a bunch of programs. And so I would go up to Sacramento a lot, work with a lot of legislators, work with a lot of regulators. And I've actually written pieces of legislation and water policy that are actually implemented. So I remember having these strange experiences. And I remember when I started this business, I'm like, how is all of that experience going to ever help me? It's so random. At least if I was like an engineer that just did math problems all day, like that seems valuable. But now looking at it, I love reading legislation. Like that's where I can find everything that's coming out, new bills that are going through the state assembly and, where they're at and tracking, like there's a bunch of new bills that are coming up for teachers, right? So teachers, I'll just take a detour here, are a small subset of, and there's a lot of women teachers and women of childbearing age as teachers. And they get some of the worst maternity benefits because for whatever reason, back in the day when these unions negotiated how they are set up, they don't pay into the state program. And so some of these teachers get nothing, or they have these like subpar private insurance policies that they really have to fight tooth and nail on. And then, they still get their time off, but some of it may or may not be paid. And so there's a bunch of new bills that are coming up through the California legislature, right, that are trying to provide teachers and educators and, principals, anybody that works in the school districts of California to provide them maternity leave benefits. So what's really great is that my experience, like loving all of that, I just get to bring it here. So as things are changing, we're staying up to date, and we're able to guide and help our clients make sure that they know, like, did you know that you can get this? Like even this year in 2025, for our Kaiser set of clients, right? So women that have Kaiser for their health insurance, they just implemented doula benefits. So by the way, PSA, for anybody who has Kaiser on here, you can get a doula included if you're on Kaiser. And that was new for 2025. So there's all kinds of stuff. It's always evolving. And so it makes it fun. It's always a new challenge. It's not set it and forget it. And like, this is antiquated law. I mean, a lot of it is foundational in that way, but it is evolving all the time. And so I would say I'm super obsessed and passionate about it because it's my flow state. And I'm in a mastermind with several other business owners. And one of them has employees. And so she came to me, and we write employer policies too. So like, so we mainly get hired by like, I'd say tech companies, right? That want to do parental leave benefits and implement them. And we've done it for a lot of companies. So she was like, can you help me with our company? We have somebody going out. And, I just start going into all this stuff, and I work with her HR person that she has, they've got like a team of, I think, like 30 folks. And she was just like, this is wild watching you talk because like, you just know it. And she's like, I don't know, how you know it, but it's mind boggling. I'm like, oh, it's just something I'm super passionate and obsessed about. So I don't think I could not do it, to be honest.
Yeah, it was definitely meant to be a part of your journey, like what you experience. Like there's always that moment of like, why is something happening to me? Obviously, it's for some other reason. And like, obviously, you going through your maternity leaves and figuring things out and like not knowing, it's just like that has led you to this path, which is so incredible. You're helping so many incredible women. I'm just in awe. The teacher maternity leave, you just had me thinking about so many teachers as I was growing up. I remember some went on maternity leave and I just started thinking about them. I'm like, how did they do it? Even back then, and just like, and it's incredible. And I think just looking at where the future is going and you want women to have the support, more women are staying at work. We're following our dreams. We're able to, but then, we need that support. I would love to say we can do it all, but we need that help. It takes a village. And I think you are becoming part of that village for so many women for, over, was it 3,000 you said? I mean, that's incredible. So you are becoming like a village. You're growing. It's almost like it's going to be a city soon of help. So I think just, I'm in awe of like what you do and the fact that you're passionate about it and the fact that you enjoy reading legislation is I have to say,
it's nerdy.
But you know what? Like someone has to do it. Like, and obviously someone like you has found it. I mean, that's who we want reading legislation. We want someone who wants to read it, who wants to then help people. And I think that's so incredible. And the fact that you've had experience even writing legislation, I think overall, like, and you had said, you're like, how does this help me in the future? And it all ends up working out the way it's supposed to in the end.
Yeah, I'm a big proponent, and like nothing bad is ever happening to me. Everything is like a lesson or a blessing. Or sometimes, as one of my best girlfriends and I say, is like hashtag blessing, because maybe it's a lesson and a blessing at the same time. Yes. So, the good and the bad, right? And I even think back, because when I was in college, that's when I went through Hodgkin's lymphoma. So, being a college kid who's like, you just want to party, have fun, go to class, show up, whatever, live in La Vida Loca, and then being diagnosed at 19, and then trying to like, I just remember navigating, this is back in the day before smartphones, okay? And before iPhones, right? So I think there was those Palm Pilots you could get, and there was the Switch or the flip phone. I don't remember.
Yeah, I know which one you're talking. Yeah, I know. I know that for listeners, we're moving our thumbs around. It's something where you switch it, you pop it. It's like, I can't remember, but I know what you're talking about. So cool. Sidekick, I think, right?
Sidekick, there we go. The Sidekick. Yeah, the Palm Pilots. And then there was like another Blackberries, yeah, all of those. Yes, exactly. So I remember looking through, there was like this giant packet of like providers for health insurance. And that's what they used to do. You would like look through and you would just like find people. And I had to like go find these providers for myself. Right. So just going through all of that and then like navigating health insurance and like, navigating programs and understanding what copays and co-insurance and this and that. Granted, I was still like on my parents' insurance because I was young enough, but like I was living on my own in college. I was living with roommates, like going to chemotherapy every other Thursday, like it was hard at the time. And still going to class and trying to do engineering, which is, hard enough as it is. Yeah. But just realizing like there was a disability office on campus and I registered with them, right? And so I was able to get like a better parking spot. I was able to like get assistance when I needed it. Like there are programs and benefits out there for different things if you sort of know where to look. And I feel like going through that experience, in addition to like this strange political engineering experience that I had, they all just kind of came together in this perfect way to be able to serve all of these women. And I also feel like I'm such a huge proponent of women becoming advocates for themselves, especially through becoming a mom, because we don't have to just worry about ourselves. But now we have a little baby, right, who cannot advocate for themselves. They don't have words. So we have to be able to say no to something, yes to something, get the facts, like speak up when something makes us uncomfortable. And I think a lot of the work I do through maternity leave, some of these clients of mine who are with me for, 9 months or a year or even longer, if I worked with them before they were pregnant, will tell me like, oh my gosh, I had no idea. Like I could be this strong and I could do all of this. And I'm thinking about a client very specifically right now. When she came to me, she, was saying like, I never asked for help. I've had a hard life. I just do everything myself. I am like a, strong woman. I'm like, yes, you are. And you should be. And I was like, and it is okay to say like, I need help. I need to go talk to a therapist, or like, I need more time. It is okay. And I was like, and you know what? It's more than okay. I was like, I'm going to celebrate you. I'm going to be proud of you. And I will be sad if you don't stand up for yourself, actually. And she was like, and then now seeing her 9 months later after that conversation, just seeing like her blossom as a human, that is magic, right? And yeah, I feel like I'm getting emotional just thinking about it. It's so powerful to be doing this work. So yes, it's more than just the nerdy numbers that I am obsessed with. Getting to see that is, I don't even know how to put it into words, honestly.
No, you are an angel for sure. I mean, you are an angel above and beyond, helping so many women. And I think it's so incredible. And like we've said, everything is meant to be. You went on this journey. It's all coming full circle. And I can't wait to see what the future brings. I mean, you're only just on like, just a part of the journey. You still have so much you can do. So I'm really, really excited to have connected with you, Diane. And I know my listeners are going to love this episode because you have just been a wealth of information and also so inspiring, so empowering of like anyone who's listening and was kind of maybe feeling like, I don't know if I can, advocate for myself. And it doesn't even have to be maternity. It could be a disability. It could be something happening in your life or your partner's life. There are so many ways. We do live in a country that has, certain systems set up. You just have to find it. And you have to find people like Diane. And I think that's really incredible. So Diane, thank you so much.
Thank you. And thank you so much for having me. And I just feel really honored to be able to like share some of our story, my story, this journey and this experience with your listeners. And yeah, I just hope somebody takes something away that really feels empowering for them to kind of take through their day. So thank you.
No, absolutely. And where can listeners find you?
Yes, everybody can find me on my Instagram. The gram is where I'm at. And it's just at California Maternity Leave. I have to tell you, I think I'm considered a early millennial. Like I'm on the cusp of like millennial age. And I'm like, I love that I've gotten so into Instagram. And I mean, I'm not on Snapchat or any other platform.
Oh, same.
But yeah, the gram is where I be. So California Maternity, or just CaliforniaMaternityLeave.com. Anybody can just email us at hello@CaliforniaMaternityLeave.com. And then, we can start a conversation too, if that feels more aligned.
Perfect. I'll provide a link in the show notes. Diane, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you for tuning in to this episode of From the Honeycomb podcast. If you enjoyed it, please take a moment to rate, review, and share it with your friends. To stay connected, follow me on Instagram at From the Honeycomb podcast, and you can support the podcast through the Patreon link in the show notes. And don't forget to subscribe to my monthly newsletter where I share exclusive behind-the-scene content and tips on running a mindful and successful architecture business. Thank you again for listening, and stay curious.